Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're continuing our focus on developments within the state. And remember, we're coming to you live from Uyo in Akwa Ibom State. We're joined now by the governor of the state, Godswill Akpabio. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we have this pension matter. Lots of states, too, have been mentioned. We've got states, there's the one of Kwara, when it came up, it was also controversial. We've had comments from Gombe, Jigawa, Lagos, all about pensions. The only thing that those who are writing about this seem to have left out is calling this an uncommon pension bill. What is going on with this bill?
Well, yeah, thank you for coming to Uyo. I'm always delighted to have you. And we are proud of what you are doing in Channels Television. To be honest with you, there is a laughable situation that people should generate controversy over the pension law. The pension law has been in existence in Akwa Ibom State, and I'm the one implementing it. So I wear the shoe, and I know where it pinches.
So the former governors,
yes, they've all been getting all the former elected governors and former elected deputy governors and their spouses have been enjoying the pension law. The pension law was first passed in the year 2000 and was further amended with certain provisions added in 2006. And when I came on board in 2007, we've been implementing it. It's part of the pension of the state. Just like you pay a civil servant, you also pay a former governor, a former deputy, and of course you comply with the other provisions of the law. So what the current law is saying is that all the former deputies and their governors are under the current pension. But this particular amendment will take effect from 1st of June. In other words, there is no gap. Whatever they were earning, whatever they were collecting, whatever was their pension on a monthly basis will cease to operate from 31st of May 2014, and then the current amendment will take effect from 1st of June. So it's really not a retroactive law, neither is it a new law. It's an existing law that went through amendment. But sometimes in legislative drafting, you can include a provision there where you have made some substantial amendments that says that the former law is hereby repealed, and then the current one will now take effect. That's why we may call it Pension Law of 2014. And of course, you know my tenure does not end in 2014. So the law is not meant for Godswill Akpabio. The law is meant to check certain excesses in the system. And I swore to oath to ensure that everything that I can do possibly to bring the greatest good to the greatest number of people, I should do so. And when I saw the lacunas in the law, I had to take up the issues with the leadership of the House of Assembly, and of course, they went to work. I know where the controversy is coming from. The bill has been politicized, and people have sponsored also write-offs in the internet. I will explain. First of all, in the operation of the old law, the old pension law, it is an open-ended thing that the medical bills of all past governors and past deputy governors and their spouses will be paid for by the state. So you have a situation...
Whatever the bill is.
Whatever the bill is. So you have a situation whereby I've seen bills where former deputies and their spouses will come to you. Maybe the wife wants 29 million, and they say, oh, they've sent in a bill from so-so hospital where they are going abroad, because the bill did not specify whether the hospital should be in Nigeria. But most of what I've seen so far as a governor in 7 years have been bills from abroad. And by the time you bring in a bill from abroad, and 50,000, 70,000, 170,000, sometimes 112,000 US dollars, and these things are, interpreted in naira, I don't think there's any single former deputy and their spouse that will spend a minimum of 200 million in a year.
200 million?
In terms of medical bills. Of course, you cannot start now to say, why should somebody's bill be so high? Because you can also spend on beer. It depends on your state of health.
But medical bill is just one part of the...
That's the aspect I'm talking about. That's one side. And so, for instance, we can't make politics out of people's health. You've had instances in which past leaders and their spouses had major issues. And sometimes you get a bill where somebody says, oh, I had to hire a plane to fly my spouse out of Nigeria, and therefore you have to pay. I've had instances in one go where I had to pay as much as 41 million naira.
Your Excellency, if I may come in here.
Yes.
Sorry to bother you. The bill, you said the bills you've seen so far are bills from abroad.
No, I'm saying that as the bills are sent, you have invoices that are attached, which is, for instance, somebody gets an invoice from a hospital in maybe Dubai or in London and says, oh, I'm going with my spouse for for cataracts, for glaucoma, for one thing or the other, and the total bill is, in naira term, 39 million. That comes like once in a quarter, once in 2 months. And then by the time you do that 3-4 times in the year, the person would have expended far above 150 million. Now, that's only one. And then the law does not tell you to go and question these bills. The highest you will do is to set up a pro panel to go to the hospital and try to find out what was this. But at the same time, they will say it includes ESTA code. Oh, we are expected to stay 3 weeks. So if you don't have men of integrity, they can hide under the open-ended medical bill to go for their yearly holidays or monthly holidays abroad or quarterly holidays abroad in different parts of the world and come under medical bill. Okay. That's one side.
Let's clarifying that one side now. Couldn't the amendment have said, maybe put a caveat as regards where the medical treatment must be? Like saying you can't go outside the country, it has to be within Nigeria.
If you do so, there will be certain ailments that you don't have the equipment in the country to treat. For instance, how many hospitals in Nigeria do open heart surgeries? How many hospitals in Nigeria do liver transplants? These are elderly people who have retired. So if they need a liver transplant and you insist that it should be within Nigeria and there is no hospital offering it, it means you've condemned the person to death. So this is the situation. And what the bill is seeking to do is to try to place a ceiling so that before the person brings a bill to the government in a year, the person must actually be ill. And then there are years that not 1 naira of this money will be expended because the government is expected to pay this money to the hospitals. And so where you say, okay, for the spouse of a former deputy and the deputy and the former deputy himself, that you cannot spend about 50 million. Interpret that in naira. That means you can't go above 250 to 280,000 US dollars in a year. And that means that the person has to be careful. Before you can submit a bill to government, you must actually be ill. So that you don't end up submitting bills to government, then you exhaust what is available that could help you in terms of emergency. So there are many, for instance, like a healthy governor like Godswill Akpabio. I would not expect that I retire next year from government and I start sending bills to government on medical. No. It means that for at least 3-5 years, God willing, I may not benefit from 1 naira of this so-called 100 million. It only means that the event of uncertainty, in the event of circumstances that I need to go for major medical operation, and the ceiling the government can contribute will be 100 million.
I think we'll get on the picture now. So
yes.
It's not a bill or it's not money set aside that you must take, whether you fall ill or not.
No.
It's money for you. So you must be ill and you must show evidence that you're ill before
and the money will be paid
before you can access that.
Before you can access that money. So
why is it paid? Is it paid to you directly?
No, it will be paid to the hospital. That's even before now. It was paid directly to the account of the beneficiaries. Up to May 2014, I've been paying it since 2007. So it covers even people who were elected under Cross River State. So even the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Letebe, who comes from Akwa Ibom, who is alive, the medical bill covers him. The pension law covers him.
Until this...
It still covers him up to this moment I'm talking. He receives pension under that law. So the law covers everybody. It covers up to the period of those who served in Cross River State. It covers even in the military regime of His Excellency Ibrahim Babangida for military for governors that were elected. And so I paid medical bills for the late Obong Akpabio, may soul rest in peace, under that, and also paid his monthly stipends as enshrined in the law. But and then, of course, what happened was, by the time Obong Akpabio died, I'm sorry to bring this up, I'm just giving you like a live example. We took care of the entirety of his medical bills throughout his lifetime from 2007 when I became a governor, under that law. But I now found out a lacuna. Whilst he was alive, the wife was also enjoying free medical treatment. paid for by government under that bill or under that law. But immediately after his death, we ceased to assist the wife because the bill does not make provision for continuity when it comes to after the death of the person who occupied the office. So under the
amendment,
the current amendment, we made a provision to enable us give 1 million, a ceiling of 1 million naira a month for the spouse of a dead deputy, or the spouse of course, for the spouse of a dead deputy, 500,000 naira in a month. For the spouse of a dead governor, 1 million naira in a month as a ceiling to assist in medical expenses. Why did we do that? Because we realized that after the death of the husband, the woman may not even have 100,000 naira to go to hospital. So under the current amendment, from 1st of June, if she's sick, she can submit a bill to the tune of 1 million naira in a month. In terms of medical bills. And then the deputy governor's wife can also submit a bill up to the tune of 500,000 naira in a month only. And that bill will be paid directly to the hospital.
Governor Akpabio, allow me comment here. Did this whole issue about this pension, the way you have highlighted it, the way you have actually given a live example of what is happening presently in the state, go through the people? Now, I'm talking about representatives. I should have even asked the speaker that, if they represent the people, how well did they go back to their constituents and enlighten them on this particular bill?
No.
And in your state, have you actually used the state apparatus to see how you can inform and enlighten the people on this?
I will expect that almost all the laws I'm implementing as a governor went through due process. This law was passed in the year 2000. I wasn't here. So probably by the time the law was passed, it must have passed through public hearing. And it was further amended in the year 2006 and then signed into law by my predecessor in office. So I will expect that it must have gone through due process. The current situation, by the time the amendment was sent to the House of Assembly, it was all over the internet. It was all over. The only difference is that people misunderstood it and then thought that it was a new bill being sent to take care of Governor Akpabio. No. The salient aspects of the amendment are just three. Just those ones that I mentioned to you. And then the law also provided that a former governor and a former deputy will have certain complements of staff around him for life. For instance, he will have a chauffeur, he will have a cleaner, he will have a cook, he will have this, he will have that. Now imagine, and there was no money, there was no monetary term placed on it. So whenever you send the list of your staff as enshrined in the law, and then you tell us the amount you are paying, we have no option as a government than to comply. And so if you go and employ cooks that all have master's degrees maybe in akara making, or they have master's degrees in pounded yam, and then you are paying them $10,000 each, it means that if you have two cooks and then you bring them to us, we are spending, depending on the value of the dollar, we are spending over 6 million on those two cooks. We haven't paid the cleaner, we haven't paid the security man, we haven't paid the steward, we haven't paid your chauffeur. So what this law is saying is that no matter the retinue of staff you are going to have, the maximum that will be paid, which the payment of the salaries and emoluments will be in line with the existing laws of the land. For instance, 18,000 minimum wage will also apply to a cleaner. And so the law is saying for a deputy governor and the family, you cannot spend more than 2 million. I initially proposed 2 million naira, but the House of Assembly, in passing the bill into law, said 2.5 million. And then for existing former governor and the family, you can't spend more than 5 million in paying your staff that you are entitled to.
Again, Your Excellency, is this money given to the governor or deputy
no,
or paid to the staff?
They will be paid to the staff which are listed in the law.
Directly.
If you look at theirs, this money will be paid to the staff. And so you can't pay above what is expected. If somebody has a degree and is expected to be on level 10, and so he's supposed to have maybe 50,000 or 6,000, it's part of it that will be paid. That means that this 5 million will not be expended in totality, but that is a ceiling. So if you were to bring in people who are maybe very heavily qualified, ICT compliant and all that, and you say, oh, the age you are supposed to have as a secretary must be somebody who has worked with Bill Gates, and it comes up with a bill that should go to 7.5 million a month, that the law will not cover you.
Chamberlain, sorry, Excellence.
Yeah.
Can we just go back a little bit? You're doing a lot of development here, and you have, or I don't know if that's completed, a world-class hospital being built
Yes,
here.
it's ongoing, and we expect it will be completed this year.
This medical bills, as enormous as people say they are,
Yeah.
if you're spending so much paying former governors and deputies this amount of money, or proposing to pay them this amount of money in a year, I want to be channeled towards equipping those hospitals so they
Now
can
you're
get their
getting
treatment.
it. You are getting it. They are getting it wrong. You are not paying them. You are saying that if, for instance, they have open heart surgery or they have liver transplant, and it costs more than 100 million naira, that the government cannot contribute more than 100 million.
Okay,
In a year, if the man is not sick and he goes on to take Panadol or hypertensive drugs, and the totality of it all is 5 million naira, it means from that 100 million, he will only spend 5 million that year. And so the state government will save 95 million. Then, if the hospital that we are building comes into operation this year, it's even far better for government. There will be no former deputy or former governor that will take up to 10 million naira of the so-called provision of 50 million or 100 million. It is not cash paid to them. I'll give you an example. When I finished the airport, we did not have flights coming here. The only one airline that agreed to come all of a sudden stopped operation, and my people were stranded. I had to go to the House of Assembly. And in the wisdom of the House, they granted me approval to pay 500 million naira into escrow to encourage any airline that comes into Akwa Ibom State. And we said, if you don't carry up to 50% of the capacity of your plane, take money from that 500 million and then make up the balance to ensure 50% capacity. And then the first airline that took advantage of it was Ghana Airline. At the end of the day, at the end of the 6-month period, which was meant, we call it Business Development Fund. At the end of it, the government recovered almost 400 million. So in essence, anybody could have shouted and said, oh my God, they are giving 500 million to an airline. But no, that wasn't the case. And we wanted to develop that sector. We wanted to encourage planes to come into Akwa Ibom to see the huge potentials in terms of customer base. And at the end of the day, we took back our money. So in this case, if you make a provision of 50 million in a year for a deputy and spouse for medical, and the person is not sick, the money goes back to government. And if you have a hospital that is state-owned, like the specialist hospital that is coming up, they may not even be need to charge bill for a former deputy or a former governor. And that means not 1 naira will be expended. I think the confusion here is that people are thinking that this money is going to be given to Governor Akpabio every year, 100 million a year, he will go home with it. When Governor Akpabio is not ill, I don't pray to be ill, and I pray not to spend 1 naira out of that money. Okay, so that's one side of it. Okay, but if you don't make that provision at all, then you leave an open-ended situation, which is what I've seen in the last 7 years. So you're putting a ceiling on this? There is a ceiling, and that ceiling is very important to protect public funds. Otherwise, people can, I'm praying that we'll continue to have men of integrity, that we have had past governors have been people of high integrity. Otherwise, people can take advantage of it and submit all sorts of spurious bills, and at the end of the year, you end up spending 300, 400 million because it's an open-ended thing. You are covered free medical treatment, no matter the country, no matter where you go to. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be back, of course. There are so many other matters. Yes, as you expected, the questions are streaming in, but just give us a moment. We'll be back. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Uyo, and we have the governor here with us, Godswill Akpabio, shedding some light on some of the controversies making around about different matters entirely. But lots of people are asking, Your Excellency, in spite of all the ceiling that you're trying to put into this, sanitizing this pension bill, as you've said, they ask, what about the people who these funds are meant for, public funds? What pension scheme is in place for the people? Well, we are still under the old pension. What we noticed in Akwa Ibom was that they have started deductions under the contributory pension scheme without the structure of the contributory pension being put in place. So people were still getting the old gratuity, and were still getting their pensions under the old pension law. And that is what is still operating. So we're even having what I call double jeopardy. There were double deductions. We're deducting to pay the current pension as it is now, and we're also deducting towards contributory pension scheme. So in the wisdom of the House of Assembly, they said, look, until that is ready, because we're waiting for the final amendment on the contributory pension scheme from the National Assembly so that we actually know how we can domesticate it, and now we can also use that law to structure it to fit our local circumstances. So the wait was getting too long. I've been a governor for 7 years, and do you know throughout those 7 years, monies were being deducted from civil servants, monies were being deducted from government under contributory pension scheme on the one side, and monies were also being deducted from the government and from the government for the normal pension. So people were still paid their gratuities, and people were still paid their normal pensions on a monthly basis under normal deductions, while there was also deduction for contributory pension scheme, and the contributory pension scheme was yet to take off. So the House of Assembly said, no, we have to stop. We can't continue with these double deductions because it was affecting other sectors of the economy. And so they repealed that other law on contributory pension and directed that whatever monies were taken from civil servants should be returned to the civil servants until the structures to go under the contributory pension schemes were put in place. And that's what they did. And now we set up a committee to actually find out what each person contributed. As soon as the data is ready, the money is going to them. And the money is not controlled by the state government. The money is right there in the bank. It's controlled by a committee of labor union leaders. And the only person that is there, I think, is the head of civil service. There's a member of that committee from the government side. So these monies are civil servants' monies, and the monies will be given back to them. Some of them have retired, but they also got their gratuities and their pensions under the old law. So government is still alive to its responsibilities. The only thing is that we're waiting for the finality on the contributory pensions in order to domesticate that law in Akwa Ibom and then commence operation. But we're suffering from double jeopardy. On a monthly basis, we're deducting money for the normal pension under the old law and deducting money under the incoming law on contributory pension. So that's the situation. So nobody is suffering from any aspect of, oh, pensions are not being paid. Pensions are being paid and gratuities are being paid. The only thing is that when eventually we domesticate this new law, that is the contributory pensions law, then we will now have to stop the old pension scheme and then go under this current scheme.
I really don't want, I wanted to touch on so many other issues, but quite frankly, let's talk about developments. Nyota asked about the hospital here in Akwa Ibom State, which you have said will be completed this year. But there are other projects that the people really want to see a completion on before you leave office.
That's why they elected me, and that is why they call it uncommon transformation.
So let's talk more on some of these developments that can actually affect the people. First, I like to talk more on education, which the speaker reminded us of that existing law in the state there that has made every child go back to school. And the last time we spoke to you at the World Economic Forum, we also brought the issue of people trying to use some people in your state as house helps or housemates, and you said that law has helped them in securing a better future. Education, which is very key here, how well have you been able to take it beyond the level which it was a couple of years ago? Because we understand that, well, is a non-fee paying schools that we have in Akwa Ibom as we speak, is it only for the indigenes or for the residents?
Well, I thank you for that question, because at the time I was almost thinking that Nigerians have forgotten that this is the governor of Akwa Ibom, Chief Godswill Akpabio, the uncommon transformer. Because when the people try to focus more on the negatives, and I can understand with them, when you cannot fault a governor on performance, I'm trying to be modest. When you can't fault the governor on performance, then you have to look for something negative to throw on him. In the educational sector, I believe God has guided us very well. We took cognizance of the fact that many of our children were serving as houseboys and house helps around the globe. It wasn't only in Nigeria. Some of them in Gabon, some in Ghana, some were taken as far as Sierra Leone and all that. And so we just couldn't go from home to home to educate people that the only way to prepare for a future of the children is for them to have proper education. So what we did was to sign the Child Rights Law, and then we enshrine a provision that makes basic education compulsory. And so, and it's also a criminal offense for a parent not to allow a child of school age to be in school. That's the first thing we did. And so if you don't allow a child of school age to be in school, whether the child is an orphan or whether the child has parents or not, then that means you, the adults, you have committed an offense against the state. And so we now declare free and compulsory education. We are now on the 6th year. And so I hear a lot of states now saying, calling some of their leaders champions of free education. Well, we don't make noise.
I wanted to ask how that works. Is it for indigenous?
It is not for indigenous alone, because we open it up to all Nigerian children who are resident here. Within the primary school sector alone, we have 1.9 million children. And you can imagine in a state with a population of less than 5 million, so have 1.9 million children in the basic education level alone. That shows you that you are educating also your neighbors. We are delighted to offer service to Nigerians, because that is what it is. You should show love to one another. So that it is open to all Nigerian children who are resident in Akwa Ibom State and who are going to school in Akwa Ibom State. And so it is free from primary school all the way to senior secondary school level. And we pay the NECO fees, we pay the YA fees. I've done that religiously in the last 6.5 years. I've done that religiously, so that we also brought in an innovation, because the school heads, the headmistress and the school principal may say that I don't have money for logistics. So we are paying 100 naira per child per term to the school headmaster to provide chalk, to provide broom, and provide logistics for the children. And we are paying 300 naira per child per term to the school principal to provide logistics for the kids. For instance, if there is a school with generating set and it's a boarding college, and that means the school principal will need to buy diesel and all that. So that's what we are doing. And the government has been doing that and spending hundreds and hundreds of millions in that direction. We try to provide school books and all that. In those days, students heard about reagents. They never saw reagents until the day of examination, doing practicals in their final year of WAEC. But that is not the situation today. We try to equip the labs. We try to provide a lot of things for them to use that can aid them in learning. And most of the schools are also provided with computers, with all sorts of laboratories and equipment. So I'm very passionate about education, because I believe that the difference between the driver and the car seat owner is education. And what really made most of my children to go out there to go and serve as houseboys and housegirls was because of the level of education. So we have brought them back. In Divine Children's Home here that my wife is running, we have over 700 children that came back. They don't have parents. They came back, some were engaged in child labor in Gabon, some in Congo-Brazzaville, some in Ghana, some in Lagos, everywhere. They came back and said, we heard about a free education, but we are orphans. We don't have parents, and then we put them in those schools. And then you heard about the period when somebody said he was looking after children who were abandoned as witches and wizards. We brought those children out of those schools because they were being molested, out of those enclaves. And then we put them here. We gave them uniform, bought them brand new coaster buses. Some we put them in boarding colleges, and then all of them are compulsorily going to school. And today I'm preparing them to become the future leaders of tomorrow. There will be the senators, there will be the house members, and there will be those who are going to be managers in various parastatals and banks in this country tomorrow. They are all here, over 700 of them. We are taking care of them. You can't hear this anywhere. Nobody's going to report, because no good news it does not sell. It's only bad news that sells in Nigeria. And that's the unfortunate situation of it.
I think more or less news that hasn't actually been properly disseminated to the people.
No, people know. People who come to Akwa Ibom know. We've done over 3,000 classroom blocks. I commissioned them. I went to a school the other day. In one of the schools alone, I commissioned 17 brand new classroom blocks.
This is the first time I'm sure a lot of people will understand how this medical bill is being accessed by former governors and deputies.
Yes.
I don't think we have seen anywhere where it has been put out, in details that this is not a compulsory bill or money set aside for you.
No,
you must be ill, and the money is not given to you. It must be paid to the hospital.
Oh, then that case, it means the media team here did not do a good job. That's why I started by saying it was a laughable thing. I actually thought it was mischief, because the law says that you have to be a governor or a deputy governor for more than 1 year to benefit from it, unless your tenure was truncated by a military regime or by resignation as a result of health condition. So we have a situation whereby maybe 1 or 2 people will not benefit from it, because you can't benefit from it if you resign and it wasn't on health condition. You can't benefit from it if you were impeached. So there are 1 or 2 people that probably served in certain capacities in the state who cannot benefit from it. And when they heard about it, they went to lobby the House of Assembly, and they move in. And a pension is supposed to be for long service. It's not that you go and stay for 3 months and then you walk out to go and do your business, and then the state government will start spending money on you for life. It's not supposed to be so. So this was what I thought was happening, and the whole controversy was so blown out of proportion. I said it's a normal Nigerian situation.
Your Excellency, the issue of development, as we were talking about education and even the pension thing, aren't you worried about dwindling funds?
No, I'm worried because we don't even have enough money. But at the same time, I'm worried about the problems. The plethora of problems I met on ground. I don't sleep. So I lost my hair.
If you don't have enough money,
yes,
how are you going to handle it? You're handling multiple projects.
No. That's why we are creating
this.
That's why we are creating the environment for private sector to thrive. There was no private sector in my state. We had only a civil service state when I came in. Do we have now? No. Today we are beginning to have private sector.
Industries?
Yes, about 14 industries are being built here. And then in the next 1 or 2 months, the next 1 or 2 weeks, the president should be able to commission a brand new gas processing plant, a very large one, done by the private sector. Over $500 million expended. It's located in Esireke. And then we've done 69 kilometers of gas pipeline to Ibom Power. It is there that we are now supplying Ibom Power with gas. So Ibom Power is now producing up to 100 megawatts and sending it into the national grid. And then we have people who have come in, I don't want to name them until groundbreaking ceremonies are done, who have brought in $1.8 billion to do ammonia plants and fertilizer plants within Akwa Ibom. And so many others. We have a Turkish company today that has already come in. Their factory is almost completed. They are producing fridges, household utensils, television sets, and all that. And they will be selling not just to Nigeria, but to the whole of West Africa. I don't make noise about those things. I promise my people that after the infrastructure, the next stage I will go into is industrialization in order to create jobs for the teeming youths of Akwa Ibom.
Because they were complaining. They said, look, yes, there's so much project, almost calling you Mr. Project, and they wonder, are we going to have economy boom in the state?
Yeah, but that's what is happening now. Those projects are the economic drivers. They are attracting the private sector. If you don't have an airport, how do you expect the investor to fly in? Is it to go and land in Owerri and start asking, how do I get to Akwa Ibom? No investor will do that. You're wasting your time. Or somebody that lands in Port Harcourt. Why can't he invest in Port Harcourt? He has to find a way 2 hours or 2.5 hours to get to Akwa Ibom. There must be something that attaches him here. Unless the wife is from here, he will not come. And so we had to create the access. That was why we ensured that we completed the international airport. Now we are talking about building a deep sea port in Ibaka. And what is that going to be for only Akwa Ibom people? No. It will be for all Nigerians. You expect over 20,000 people will have jobs. And so because of that, the deep sea port that is coming, even associated industries have already started coming. People have already taken, people are building tank farms here and building all sorts of things. New things are coming up around the state.
Let me share this with you, Godswill Akpabio. It's quite long, but I'll just quickly pick out some. It's from Omoba Adeyemi. He says, well, I live here and constantly move around the state, thanks to the nature of my job, that the governor has actually redefined governance in the part of the country. But he went further. I want to draw your attention to the economy of the state, which still remains very tertiary. The following areas should be looked into: development of coastal areas like Oron Beach,
yes,
Ibaka Port and Beach Connecting Road, rehabilitate Oron Ekme Okim Road, and finally invite investors from outside with government participation. He says this is his little contribution.
He has a strong point there. What we did was we now acquired about over 9,000 hectares of land along the coastline from Oron all the way down to Ibona. And then we parcellated it, and then we wrote to the president, and he granted export free trade zone license over it. So that people who are coming, they are likely to have tax holidays for 5 years and all that. So many companies are showing interest from United Arab Emirates and some even from Poland. I had the deputy president of Poland who came here and also showed interest. So I believe strongly that we needed to even create the access. We needed to create the infrastructure before we can start looking for people to come.
I hope they will employ the locals here.
Oh my God, even most of the major companies here, like if you go to the international stadium we are building, which we are hoping that Arsenal and Man U or Chelsea can come and then shine for Nigerians here, because this stadium meets the international standard. 98% of the workers there are from Akwa Ibom State. They have acquired skills in welding, deep sea welding, and all sort of things, and I know at the end it will be useful to them in other ventures. So we are also building maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility at the airport. The MRO, there's none in the whole of West Africa as large as that. It's going to be for repair of planes, so you can do C checks, A checks, and other checks on aircrafts. And even the money we are losing in Nigeria today, in terms of health, the capital flight to India, particularly, that's what we are trying to capture. We want to have a niche in it. That's why we are building the biggest hospital in Nigeria. I believe that is the biggest hospital in Nigeria.
And former governors can be treated there.
Can be treated there free, instead of taking advantage of the 100 million ceiling that is provided, because it's not money that will be released to them. It is not money for jamboree. It is money that is kept in case of incasities. So they can be treated there free. And so we are having about 157 experts coming in to start that hospital this year. And of course, even the second 5-star hotel, Le Meridian, that we are furnishing right now, is also going to generate income for the state, and it's going to create employment opportunities. We have finished a big shopping mall with 6 studios of cinema operational. We have up to 3,000 visitors every week, particularly on weekends, coming from across Nigeria to come and enjoy themselves there at the Tropicana. And right now, the shopping malls are almost going into operation. We will generate revenue from there, even from taxation, and of course, even from fees that they are going to pay. No, and then we employ our children.
Talking about taxation, we were discussing something earlier about local government sticker enforcers, sticker boys. Yeah. Do you have them in Akwa Ibom?
No, I don't encourage that. I had to ban that because it amounts to, it becomes a nuisance on the road, and they've caused a lot of accidents in many states of the Federation.
How did you do it?
I insisted. I'm the governor. That's why I insisted.
But we thought... some say you are not the security. I don't know.
Chief Security Officer. They tell us.
I'm the Chief Security Officer of the state, and so I had to invite all the local governments, and I said I don't want to see it because it impedes commerce.
So how do they generate their revenue? Because they say that's their own generating revenue.
They have markets. They have motor parks, and then of course they also have kiosks, and they have a right to also. They have tenement rates and all that, so they can generate revenue. Once you have a local government chairman that knows his job, he can generate revenue. He can generate revenue from tenement rates. He can also do so from market stores and market shops. He can do so also from partnering with NURCW at the motor parks and also generating revenue per passenger and all that. Not to go and stand on the road and start disturbing free movement of vehicles and then bringing up stickers and pursuing people into the bush and causing accidents and even stopping, even causing high cost of foodstuffs.
Because sometimes they're complaining across the country.
I used to suffer it when I drive from Lagos, particularly when you enter into Edo State. You have almost every corner has a roadblock, and at the end, even as a private citizen, there were periods I used to stand on the road for 3 hours, and I said, I'm not going to pay this one. I had paid already somewhere in Ijebu. Why am I paying you again? I used to suffer it, so I cannot allow that in my state. So there's total free movement here. And then people would have stopped bringing yams and onions and other things into the state, and those things are not happening in Akwa Ibom. I don't want to have it because I'm not interested.
I decided to ask you that question because we have started a feature on Channel Television looking at so many states that these are operational. And yesterday we drove even as far as Calabar, down and back, trying specifically looking for these sticker boys, which we didn't find.
No, you will find. You will find.
And
I'm sorry, you will find.
In other parts that we have mentioned, it has become a culture and a
tradition. It is a nuisance. So
if they say they can't fix it, so we are surprised that you say
it can be done.
It can be done.
It has been done.
You see, the problem is having the will to do it, and also note that the local governments are semi-autonomous. The local governments are supposed to be guided by laws from houses of assembly.
Supposed to?
Is that so
in your state?
It is so in my state. The House of Assembly makes law for proper administration of local government. And so if it is not covered by the law, you cannot go disturbing people on the road and printing all sort of receipts. That's not why you are elected.
Can you handle this at the governor's forum? Because Nigerians, for the first time, we haven't actually seen torrents of mails and comments on this particular matter. As we speak, it's gone to about 500,000 on this particular matter. It means Nigerians are speaking in one voice.
Yeah, and I can tell you that if you watch very well, those things will be happening in non-PDP states. So, like you said, I'll bring it up in the PDP Governance Forum, because I do know that definitely the PDP is the only political party that is very sensitive to the plight of Nigerians. I'm very interested in ensuring good governance. It will be happening in non-PDP states.
No, Your Excellency, it's happening in PDP states.
No, please, give me one example.
Kaduna.
Well, we'll find out. I'll take it up with the governor.
I've experienced it in Kaduna.
In Kaduna, I'll take it up with the governor of Kaduna. He may not even be aware that his local governments are doing those things. I'll take it up in the PDP Governors Forum. I'll start from there. And then you will see sanity prevail in at least states controlled by the PDP. That I can assure you. Because, I mean, it's so annoying. Even as a private citizen, I'm saying that as a young lawyer, I suffered it on so many occasions on my way driving down from Lagos to Akwa Ibom. I'll be stopped in not less than 7 places. They'll ask you for, there's even the word that they use, FFSS. They ask you for FFSS license. Have you heard of it? And I had to look for a dictionary. I said, what is FFSS? Then the other one said, effluent license. Effluent, that's, in other words, emission from I have never, so they have all sort of fantastic words. And they will keep you on the road and tell you, unless you pay for FFSS, or unless you pay for effluent. And I said, one day they will ask me for motherless fee. So it's because my mother had died. So it's a terrible situation.
It's good to know that you said, look, you've banned it, and state governments that have the will can do the same. So we will keep insisting until
please insist on it. Insist on it, so that Nigerians can have free movement across the country, and goods and services can move freely. And at the end, the goods will go to the common man much cheaper.
Let's bring this before we go. Politics, because, I mean, if we don't get it right before you leave and transition, it could affect all that you've done. Now we hear that there are some protests about the Congress that brought the leadership of the party to place. There's even a petition by the former
this
SG
is not
Donny Tiebet.
This is not APC.
There's a petition that you wrote.
By who?
Donny Tiebet.
Oh, no.
Because we've seen congresses across different states.
I was sitting next to Donny Tiebet when we did Congress. And he has his tag. We have the video.
So the leadership, the Congress...
No. He sat with me and he spoke. He also commended the process that brought the leadership of PDP. And he sat with me and he had his tag on his... I'll give you a copy of the video before you go. And in case probably he has forgotten, you give it to him. So if it is true that he wrote any petition, but I doubt.
But I'm sure you have heard, you also have seen the
meetings. There's not been any complaint in Akwa Ibom.
What about those meetings that are being held? People speaking about where the governorship position should lie?
No, that is, those things are being sponsored by people who have ambition to be governors. And I keep pleading with them that it doesn't mean that, because the PDP has a provision enshrined in its constitution that allows you to zone positions. It does not mean that the PDP is saying that even though a position is zoned, that you cannot contest. In Akwa Ibom, I'm assuring all my people, including my relations, including my sisters, that they can contest the governorship in 2015. Nobody is going to be bad. It is an open contest. When I came in, we were 57 in number that contested, and no single person had a punctured tire, and nobody was molested. So people should also bring in decorum and ensure that it should be played in a brotherly fashion. So the fact that we are zoning the governorship to a Eket senatorial district is just as a result of equity. And then we are saying, yes, Akwa Ibom is peaceful. Akwa Ibom is peaceful, but you know very well that peace is not necessarily the absence of war, but the presence of justice in the system. It's because I've been able to ensure that projects are circulated in the 3 senatorial districts almost evenly, and every local government has a sense of belonging and has over 100 projects completed under my tenure. That is why there is peace. So, politically speaking, in 2015, the state said Obong Victor Otta was the governor of Akwa Ibom from 1999. Before then, Obong Akwa was the governor under the elected governors of the military, and they were all from Uyo. So, since creation of the state, only Uyo has had the opportunity to rule the state until I came on board. I'm from the Ikari Senatorial District. The only senatorial district that has not had a chance to rule the state is Eket Senatorial District. And they have 12 local governments. And not only that, they are also the food basket of the state because they are also the oil-producing belts of the state. So we are saying, let the next governor also come from there. So that does not stop somebody from Uyo from contesting. I know that most of the big gladiators who showed interest are all from Uyo Senatorial District. And we are saying equity demands that we give a chance to Eket Senatorial District. it doesn't stop them from contesting. And if they contest and win, we'll definitely hand over to them. They shouldn't be worried at all. But the people have spoken. I went around the town hall meetings, which was a great innovation on my part. In each town hall meeting, we had over 50, 60,000 people participating with a lot of joy and with a lot of excitement. The verdict was the same. Let us go to a Ike Senatorial District. But then, anybody from any part of Akwa Ibom who is an indigenous of this state has a right to contest the governorship. Please, get that clear. Nobody is going to be stopped from contesting. I know that people have money, they want to spend their money. Please come up. We need to be consulted. I need to receive goods. I also need to receive parts of the packages that you use in consulting. How can I stop people? If we have up to 50 people, I've raised the bar, and they are bringing goods to me. That means I have 50 goods. I can't stop anybody from contesting. And the elders will not be happy, because every elder of the party expects to be consulted. We cannot buy anybody, please. It's an open contest.
Well, to thank you for coming on. Governor Godswill Akpabio is the governor of Akwa Ibom State, and we've been speaking about a wide range of issues, including the pension bill that has been circulated widely with my eye. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yes, thank you, but you haven't touched any of my projects. You haven't talked about the international stadium, one of the best that is coming up. Super Sports covered it.
We will have our plans on that, so we will focus on it.
Please, you have to, because let's talk about development, because Nigerians want to see progress.
We will.
Nigerians want to see improvement in their standard of life, not just the negative news, please. Let's try and focus on the positive things that are happening in states.
We'll certainly do that.
Please.
We'll do that.
Yes.
So we'll be back after this break, everyone. Please join us again.
We said it, and it's become more glaring. Some people are hiding under the guise of Boko Haram to wreak havoc on fellow Nigerians, including kidnapping of innocent schoolgirls, all in a bid to discredit the present government in order to seize power come 2015. It sounds untrue, but with statements like,
"We will make Nigeria ungovernable for you."
Blood will flow on the streets of Nigeria if President Jonathan runs for a second term.
and so many others like that, it is very easy to decipher what is going on in our dear country. Fellow Nigerian, we must stand firm together. Please be more security conscious. Report any suspicious thing you see or hear to 112. Yes, 112 is the new emergency phone number to call. We all must help the federal government, the SSS, and the armed forces to protect us, to bring back our missing girls, to end terrorism, especially 2015-related insurgency in Nigeria, and very importantly, to unmask their financial sponsors. Together, we shall do it. Remember, 112 is the number to call. This message is by Alliance of Defenders of Nigerian Democracy.
Welcome back. Well, that's where we draw the curtains today on the program. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain Osal.
I'm Nel Taigbe. Thank you for watching.
Well, many thanks. I'm Sulaiman.